All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session of HR Mentorship Learning Series. On behalf of Dr. Yemi Adeosun, I want to welcome everyone here to the call. We are going to be having a very interesting and different kind of conversation today. Again, I'm used to shaking tables. So for those of you who are used to my sessions, be prepared for another table shaking but insightful session. Looking forward to learning with my colleagues this evening. So today, in honor of the upcoming International Women's Day, we will be talking about ensuring true inclusion for women, not just mere presence. All right, so I'm just going to dive straight in. The world has moved beyond bringing women to the table, all right? Women are at the table, the numbers are there. We are no longer debating the issue as to whether women need to be part of the conversation in leadership. However, realities have come to some certain realities have come to the forefront. And one of the new realities is that as much as we are having women in senior roles, more women being represented in senior roles, there's a problem. Women are not succeeding, okay? And the purpose of this conversation is to look at the reality that women face in leadership. And I'm going to start by saying this. I got this research from LinkedIn and an interesting article. It said, look, it's not about competence. There's no question about whether women are competent. It's also not about capability. There's no question about whether women are capable leaders. It's not even about the opportunity anymore. The opportunities are bound for women, in leadership. But one of the major reasons, and I'm going to say this at the risk of shaking the table once more, is that it's about power. And I'll explain. The truth is that too many men still do not know how to take orders and instruction from a woman. And I would say it's as a result of years of cultural stereotyping where women were not allowed for various cultural and even religious reasons to be in leadership roles, okay? What we have now is that we celebrate when a woman reaches the C-suite. But what happens next? Resistance, undermining, and even dismissal being disguised as feedback. There are other realities, of course. Women remain significantly underrepresented in leadership role, and this is true across various industries. I've talked about the conscious bias against women. Of course, women of color face an even greater conscious bias. And I'll even say this, sadly, there's a case of women not supporting women. So many times, women are their greatest stumbling block, all right, against their fellow women in leadership, all right? The idea of women supporting women, they just paid lip service to that statement. In reality, women do not really back each other up. And of course, there's the glass ceiling. Few men make it to the top. I mean, due to the bias, lack of networks, and necessary required career breaks. Going further, what are some of these barriers? I've talked about the conscious bias, okay? The truth is, men are used to taking orders from men their entire life, their entire careers. Suddenly, they find it difficult. They hesitate. They challenge decisions from female bosses that naturally they wouldn't question if those instructions came from a male boss. And the reason is deep down, too many still equate female authority with weakness and equates male dominance with leadership. All right. So these are, it's not a level playing field for um, women in leadership compared to their male counterparts. All right. A male, and I'll be realistic. I was talking to my cousin in the village, I'm from Akwa Ibom State, all right? And he had a female boss, MD of the company, who was a Yoruba woman. Okay, so they were having a conversation in the boardroom, and, his boss, female, hit her fist on the table and said, no, they're not doing this. This is what they're going to do. And I kid you not, my cousin got up from the meeting, told his boss, the MD of the company, that meeting is over because she hits her fist on the table. And she was bewildered, and he got up and walked out on her. And she called him back and was like, why are you walking out on me? And he told her that here it is against our culture for a woman to talk to a man and hits her fist on the table. That when she gets home, she talk to her husband will tell her what to do. She was furious, was going to put in disciplinary action against him. I don't know whether to say fortunately or unfortunately, right? She had a conversation with her husband, and the husband told her, oh, no, you don't do that over here. You cannot hit your fist on the table when you're talking to a man. The only way to settle this, the husband gave her a bottle of wine and said, when you get to the office the next day, put this wine on his table and he will do the rest. And I was shocked. I asked my cousin, I was like, are you serious? Did she do that? My cousin said, yes, she did that. She came to work the next day and she put the bottle of red wine on his table, and he went back to her office and said, okay, they can continue the meeting. And I was like, wow, interesting. I don't know whether to say that's interesting, but it's a bias, okay? If it were a male MD, would he have done that? Definitely not. Okay. And that's a cultural bias. Okay. So it goes down to my point that it's a double standard in leadership style. Okay. Male leaders, when they are assertive, they are seen as strong. But once a woman is assertive, she is viewed as aggressive. Okay. And it's a clear double standard that, puts a woman at a natural disadvantage. All right. So, of course, there's also the barrier of lack of sponsors, not just mentors. Men have access to a greater network that will accelerate their growth. More often than not, women do not. Okay. Sometimes there are workplace policies in place that penalize, caregiving, and provide rigid hours and lack of flexibility that are not suitable for women. More so, these are some of the numbers, okay? 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs, only 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Representation in executive roles is below 5% in many industries. And then you have less than 30% of senior leadership position being held by women. And more so, I'll even state that a Harvard Business Review study found out that men are more likely to challenge, interrupt, or downplay a woman leader's authority compared to her male counterparts. Women do not hold not just 10% of Fortune 500 CEO roles, despite the fact that they've proven equal or better leadership performance in key areas like innovation, collaboration, and crisis management. Another study that was done by Stanford Business Group revealed that women received more vague feedback while men received actionable career advancing advice. All right. And then we'll talk about, the glass cliff and tokenism. Of course, many times women are placed in high risk situations that are really a setup for blame when fail, occurs. All right, women are being put literally in impossible situations just so that they can be the fall guy whenever, you failure occurs. And of course, many times, promoting a woman to leadership roles is just a box ticking exercise, okay? Or we need to have gender parity or gender equality, or we need to be more representative of, or maybe many companies are just trying to fulfill their DEI quotas, okay? And in an attempt to fill their DEI quotas, they just, oh, let's have a woman in executive leadership. We need to hire a woman or promote a woman to senior leadership, as the case may be. And so what you have really is just that tokenism and not true inclusion. True inclusion means changing the system and not expecting women to conform. And I'm just going to say this before I move on. And again, I risk shaking the table. I'm used to shaking the table. Yeah, I'm comfortable doing that. The truth is, it's a boys' club in leadership, right? 9 out of 10 times, the women are not allowed in the boys' club, even though they are colleagues, they are fellow executive leaders. The boys' club just doesn't admit them in, okay? And that's something that really needs to be addressed. True inclusion means not just appointing them as leaders for your DEI quotas, but really admitting them into the club. I won't call it the boys' club anymore, the of power and leadership in the organization. These are some myths versus reality. There's a myth that women are rising to leadership. The reality is that progress is slow and the glass ceiling remains, all right? Diversity quotas myth. There's that diversity quotas will solve the problem. Oh, let's just have a diversity quota whereby minimum of 45% of our leadership position must be occupied by women. That doesn't solve the problem. In reality, they just create pressure without real support, okay? There's a myth that women themselves opt out of leadership. That's not true. In reality, the workplaces are not originally designed to retain them. Final myth I'm going to talk about is that leadership is based on merit, not gender. Oh, it's not just about checking the box for a diversity quota. No, and these women truly merit it. But of course, there's in reality, still that unconscious bias that affects how leaders are chosen. Women are put in a situation whereby they must prove themselves more to get the same opportunities as men. Okay, I've said it, assertive women are labeled as bossy or aggressive, while that same behavior is respected amongst men. In fact, men that are assertive are viewed as strong leaders. All right. Performance bias. Studies show that women are judged on past performance while men are promoted based on their potential. And finally, meritocracy only works when evaluation systems are free of bias, and it's rarely the case. I kid you not, I'm going to be real here. I sat in a promotion meeting once where a lady who outperformed shoulders by shoulders above, right? Every other person in her team, all right? Her promotion was nearly stepped down, not because of her competence. Competence was a no-brainer, but because somebody in the committee felt that if we promote this woman, she's going to be put in a position of leadership. And it so happened that the lady in question at the time was not married, she was single. So the concern of the promotion committee was that how could they promote a single girl, to lead married men, quote and unquote. And there I was in that committee meeting and I was like, sorry, where is a marriage certificate a credential for work, or how is a marriage certificate, a determinant for competence. All right. So these are the problems, these are the challenge women face in leadership, in the workplace, and it's a slippery, slopey cliff to climb for them. All right. So what's the solution? The solution is true inclusion. We need to have a vision for true inclusion. All right. Promotion should be merit-based, irrespective of gender. So we should have unbiased promotions, create equal opportunity, let women earn their places in leadership. Let them not feel like they were just given because they are leaders and they're women and they're trying to promote gender balance or gender parity. All right. And then women already have a bias. They already have a handicap against them. Try and make a level playing field. Promote family-friendly policies, okay? Flexible policies that support work-life balance, child nurturing, which women, by nature just have to do, okay? Sponsorship, mentorship alone is not enough for women. Equal pay, okay? Transparency, ensure transparency in pay. And interestingly, this pay gap, it permeates literally every industry, literally every industry. I'll just say this: there was a Hollywood blockbuster movie that was released by, I'm not going to mention the name of the studio, very popular studio. This movie was a global hit, okay? The movie had a lead female character. In fact, the female character was the heroine of the movie, all right? Do you know that? Interesting. Do you know that the male supporting character, the male support lead character, okay? He wasn't the main character. He was just a support character. I don't want to mention the name of the movie, for whatever reasons, But it was revealed that the male support character got higher pay than the lead character that was the hero of, in fact, the name of the movie literally circled around the female lead character, okay? But then when it came to pay, that one beats me, okay? It helped it make sense, okay? It didn't make sense to me why the male support character should earn more than the female in a movie where the female is the lead character. The name of the movie is named after the female heroine, sorry, okay? And that shows, okay, somebody says we know the movie right. Well, if you know the movie, you didn't hear the name, you didn't get the name from me, but that movie, that particular movie, the male supports character earned a larger paycheck than the female lead character. So, I mean, even for me as a man, it didn't make sense. It literally did not make sense to me why that would happen and why that was the case, okay? So Titi Lokpa, if you know the name of the movie, please don't tell anybody. All right. So what are the actionable steps that we can put in place? Of course, address the pay gaps, fix any disparities immediately, evaluate your selection criteria, and remove every form of gender bias from your evaluation process. Create not just mentorship, but sponsorship programs that support women career advancements, okay? Make flexibility your standard. And I'm going to state this: stop expecting women to prove themselves more than men, okay? A man's confidence is taken at face value. A woman's confidence is questioned, and that needs to end, okay? We need to call out the double standards. Men are assertive, women are aggressive. No, a woman can be assertive in leadership. We don't need to tag assertive women as bossy, okay? This language shapes perception and it needs to go, okay? Women, please don't undermine your fellow women's value, okay? Try to you know, and I kid you know, women, you guys sometimes are just your own greatest enemies. Women are the ones that undermine their fellow women even more than the men. Sometimes the men try to be empathetic, but then, one woman somewhere will now come and say, why? Why should we? And you find out that women are the ones that sometimes undermine each other. So please, you women need to try to deal with that bias yourselves. Okay, we're wrapping up, and these are just next steps to call to action. Commit to real inclusion as a leader, as an organization, build supportive structures, and everyone on the call, male, female, there's nothing in between. We just male and females, okay? Let us all join the call to advocate for change, okay? Speak up. Women, please speak up, raise your voice, build bridges, connect with others, and value your worth. On this note, I think we can wrap it up. If we have questions, comments, feedback, I think we could take that. If you have questions, feel free to drop your questions in the comments, or sorry, in the chat box. I'll be happy to address your comments or questions. I'm not sure, I don't know if we have an opportunity to unmute ourselves to raise your comments and we can address it. But if you're not able to unmute yourself, please drop an emoji in the comment section. Thank you. If you have questions, you can drop it in the comment section. We just quickly address the comments and questions, if any. All right. Any questions or comments? Ayobami, thank you very much. Osamui, I think the low volume was from your end. Isn't it? Thank you. Thank you very much. Shola, thank you. All right. I don't see any questions. I hope I didn't shake the table too much, but I think those are strong points that we need to. Okay, Izine has a contribution. Titi, thank you. Izine, please go ahead. I don't know if you can unmute yourself.
I can. Good evening,
Okay,
Patrick and everyone.
good evening.
Okay, so this topic is interesting. It's timely because it's right in line with the IWD, and I was reading about stuff, and I was just like, we keep on talking about things, but action, and it's good that the theme of this year's International Women's Day is accelerate action. So I'll talk about my experience. So I hear you on all the tips and all the way forward for empowering women. Yeah, I would just like to say that based on experience I've had, where you talk about having more sponsors, because the sponsorship is so important. If you have sponsors, it accelerates your career. So the men in our careers, right, or our bosses, our leaders in our careers, it behoves them to be more empowering. So you gave an example, though this example was about a CEO. There have been times where women are probably silenced or not allowed to speak their truth or say whatever they need to say, or even if they say stuff, it gets to a particular point and it stops. We need, not just the men, but the women too. We need the men to empower us to be able to move forward. The example I have, I worked with a male. I've worked with male bosses pretty much most of my career anyway. But there was this one person, I cannot ever forget him because he was so passionate about my progress. So he got me in those rooms, or he was always, he put me under his wings. So he was able to give me the tips and the tricks, You know, there's this thing, the men understand the boardroom politics. He and someone else, they would tell me things that I could do to, to navigate boardroom corporate politics. And so I understood it from the men's perspective. I was able to navigate from the men's perspective. So we need the men to be able to take us, under our wings, to teach us these things. Yeah. And then for the women, like you said, you did say, and it's not far from the truth. After all, we're seeing that play out even in the Senate right now. Some women can be their own work.
You had to go there. I
Well,
intentionally,
I
I
had to.
intentionally didn't want to go there, but you went there. You went
Well,
there,
I
not
had to.
me.
Let's shake these tables, right? Let's shake them. So
Yeah.
yeah, but what I would say is that as much as the supposed few women that are there that actually have some impact, level of impact, there's something that The Rock said. He said, when you get to the top of the mountain, create more mountain. So the women that are at the top, what are we doing to, create wider space for the other women to join us? Yeah. This same person I'm talking about that was my email. Anybody, if you listen to any of the things I talk about when I have discussions, I always keep on talking about this male boss. Incidentally, he got me a mentor, or I had a mentor. Yeah, he paired me with a mentor who was a female boss. And that was what she did. She created room. She made more mountain for me. And she was not afraid of my own progress. She was not intimidated by my progress. So for my long and short is, let there be an empowering, let the men open up. And I'm saying decent men because I also hear people having apprehension about having male mentors because sometimes the mentorship now becomes something else. So we're bordering on, please, decent men, because I've been privileged to have the decent ones that say, you know what, isn't it? We're after your.
You are not sparing the tables at all. You are not sparing
Yeah,
them. Let's just
well, let's be honest, let's be truthful. So yeah, let the decent men rise up to the occasion and take people under their wings and show them the tips and tricks, because the truth is there are tips and tricks. And these things are shared in those late night meetings. I hear some of these things that happen, these sometimes some promotions don't necessarily happen in the workplace. There are discussions that go on after work that the women may not be privy to. So those are the things that you need the men to take you under your wings and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, help us to navigate. Yeah, so I'm just all about, let us put our actions into words. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Isn't it awesome, awesome, awesome? And I really agree with everything you said. You didn't pull your punches. The truth is, like I said, it's a boys' club in leadership, and it's a boys' club because men have been in power much longer than the women. Women just joined the scene. So will it be necessary for mentors and sponsors? I mean, even for men, all of us who have risen to some level of relevance did that, with the support of a mentor or a sponsor. Our careers benefited from it, our lives benefited from it. So it is necessary. It's necessary that mentorship happens for women to also be able to thrive. Like I said, women are operating from a handicap. Okay, the handicap being that it's a boys' club and the boys resent, the newcomers, in the club. So it's going to be difficult to, you're in the corridors of power, you're there, but are you truly there? You're not yet, if you're not part of the boys' club. Like you pointed out, Etienne, and I agree, the decisions on promotions and all are not made during those review or appraisal review meetings. Those decisions have been made long, long before those meetings were scheduled. Okay, those decisions, and if women are not part of those closed circuit conversations, then they're just, they're there, but they're not there. Etini Akpabio, your hand has been raised. Please go ahead to share your comments or question. Hello, Etini, go ahead, please.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, so
go ahead, go ahead.
she has.
Wow.
I'm wondering how we'll be able to reconcile this campaign when more of is this the same gender, the female gender that will downplay on the capacity of the fellow women. I could remember in the actually it was not the president and the vice were male gender. So I rose up to occasion to have a lady, as a deputy, as a vice president of the class. Surprisingly, it was even the ladies themselves that started, no resistance.
All right. All right. It's in your network is really poor. Hello. Hello, it's in.
Opinion. Yeah, I can hear you. So I can hear you.
Yeah, your network is really bad, but I think I get the direction of your comments. Yes, I mentioned that one of the challenges women face come from their fellow women. Okay, so when we say women supporting women, it's many times we are just playing lip service to that statement. It's just a fact, women supporting women. In actual fact, women, I don't know how many of us know the monkeys in the cage theory, where you had 12 monkeys in a cage and you put a ladder in there, and then each time one monkey wants to come out of the ladder, climb out of the cage through the ladder, all the other monkeys pull it down, So sometimes women, having been in that cage so long, when they see another woman making progress, climbing the ladder out of this cage they've been in for years, they pull that person down. Like, why should you progress? Women are coming from an era. Oh, same with crabs too, right? Rinat, great. Women are coming from a setback, right? Where once upon a time, it was an era where women should be seen and not heard. I don't know how many of us experienced that era where women, it was this, where it was said, even in public, women should be seen and not heard. So we're still coming out of that stereotype, okay? So it's surprising when we now see the opposition, not from the male gender, but from your fellow female gender. It's interesting where, it's not me that said it was Titi that said it, where a woman is complaining of being harassed in leadership by her fellow colleagues, and it is other women that are coming out to shout her down and say, leave our husbands alone. So you can see that, we're not there yet. We are not yet there. And the journey is still a long road to freedom for women, okay? And we need to consciously, address these things, okay? All right, Tone says the notion of women should be seen and not heard still holds true, especially in our environment. It will surprise you too. It's not just our environment here in Nigeria, but it's all over the world as well. All right, Doc dropped a question. He said, how do gender pay gaps manifest in Nigeria? Organizations don't have different pay or salary grade for men and women. Okay, so yes, while organizations do not have different salary grades for men and women, can I share a practical experience? This is no textbook, real life, where a female was asked, because she was a single female, she was asked, why does she need a pay review? After all, she doesn't have a husband or children that she's taking care of. Hence, right, male colleagues should be given priority when doing pay reviews. I'm telling you the truth. This is a real life conversation that happened. So because of that cultural bias, you know, they say, are you not a lady? Will a man not be taking care of you? If the lady is married, you'll say, is your husband not taking care of you? What do you need money for? If it's a single lady, don't you have, after all, your father or your boyfriend or your male friends will take care of you. And I kid you not, this bias in recruitment, it shows up in recruitment, okay, whereby you hire two people for the same role, same level of experience, same years of experience, same qualification, education, but you find out that you end up paying the male, offering the male candidates a higher salary than the female candidate. Even in leadership, you find out that male executives, I'm telling you the truth, male executives are paid more handsomely. Why do you see? Notice the word paid more handsomely. That word is already a gender bias to male. Why can't you say paid more prettily? You know, the word higher pay is even gender-based. So we are paid more handsomely than their female colleagues. Okay, so I dare say that the gender pay gaps are still prevalent. Okay, and we need to address those stereotypes. Okay. Okay, you see, isn't it says even married women have been told not to ask for reviews because of their husbands. All right, so yeah, I think that pay gap is still there. You've forgotten the example I gave. Even in Hollywood, America, where you have the Charter on Human Rights, even in Hollywood, as in the example I gave, that one shocks me to my bone marrow. A movie, Hollywood blockbuster about a female female heroine, right? The male supporting character that was just supposed to be her boyfriend, right? And a higher paycheck. Or let me put it this way, was paid more handsomely than the female lead character whom the movie was all about. So I think it's still pretty much, if we look closely, take off our glasses, you'll see that women still are paid significantly less for the same jobs when compared to what their male counterparts and colleagues earn.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. There's one more question you skipped from Dr. Adosun. He said,
Okay.
how can husbands and brothers support women to attain peak levels at work and in their career?
Okay, so first of all, I think, you see, this is tied into several other stereotypes, okay? One of the stereotypes is that, you know, women should just be at home and should not chase a career, you know, and, you know, the role of the woman is just to support the male. But life has chosen, well, the new realities have presented themselves that in many cases, you find out that women are positioned or have attained better strides in their careers such that such that they have higher earning capacity than their spouses or their, siblings, okay? In such cases, I think support is support. So typically we expect, so I'm not saying men should become domesticated, no. But I'm just saying that at the home front, the men should be more helpful because, you have husband and wife who both wake up early in the morning, who both go to the grind, go to the hustle, go to work, right? And they both come back from work tired, right? I think in such situation, the man should be more understanding. Hey, you have a working class wife. She's not a baddie, right? Do not expect her to still be able to do what baddies do or do what a full a full housewife will be able to do for you. So, yes, support in the domestic work, but I'm not saying men should be domesticated. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying on the home front, in nurturing the children, in raising the children, all of the work should not be dumped on the female. That is one way where, because that's a handicap that women are burdened with, okay? So we should play a more active and not passive support to women because of the extra workload that they are doing. Isn't it say she can be a working class body? Isn't it? What is your job? Your job is HR, isn't it? Body, their work is body. Their full-time body. So isn't it? I'm not sure if it's like me now, my job is HR. I play football by the side. You still cannot compare me to somebody whose full-time job is football. All right. So isn't it? Humbling. I do not doubt your body capability or potential. I'm just saying, maybe you should use a different rating scale for your level of body. But she says, okay, body can be good at home too. Okay, I rest my case, isn't it? I agree. A body, you can be a body at home. But I'm just saying, we should manage expectations, okay? You have more than one skill set. You bring more to the table. Maybe that's where I'm coming from. You bring a lot more to the table, and you cannot use the same rating scale that you would use for a baddie whose only job is to be a baddie. Okay. I'm just saying that some level of empathy from, male spouse and male siblings is required because of the nature of what you do and the value you bring to the table. I hope, Ezine, you get where I'm coming from. I don't doubt your body capabilities. In fact, I support your body capabilities, Ezine, but I'm just saying, hey, it's a different yardstick. It's a completely different yardstick. You bring a unique value to the table, okay? And I want, based on that value, some level of empathy, and that's what I'm advocating for. Okay, Ubaka says you should help her and nobody can come. All right, Ezine, your hand is raised. I guess you want to make your contribution. Please go ahead.
Yes, don't worry. I'm not pursuing the body thing. We're done with that. Okay, so what I wanted to say, in addition to how a husband or the men in a woman's life can support her, I think, yes, as much as supporting her at home is important, we tend to concentrate a lot on that. But I gave an example when I first of all spoke, and I said, letting the woman into the tips and tricks. I like to give myself as an example. I remember at some point in my career, I was underpricing, if that's the right word, myself. It was my husband that taught me negotiation. He was like, look, you can't go into the negotiation room and be why are you pricing yourself like granuts? This is what you need to do. And that was what he taught me, how to take certain risks at work. that paid off. Those the kind of thing that men would do. You see a man doing, and you're like, how does he have that audacity? That's the word I'm looking for, audacity. So he taught me that audacity. So the men in our lives, that's what, I'm saying. Let them help us, because they know, some of them, they know these things. They have the audacity. Let them teach us the audacity. The men in my life, or some of the men in my life, that's the kind of thing they would teach me. They would say, hey, do this. And I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, go ahead. And then when I do it, I'm like, wow, so this thing can actually bring results. So that's a way for men to support their wives, their sisters, whoever it is that is in their life. That's one. Then two, unconscious biases. I think that we also need to, as HR professionals, do workshops to disabuse people's minds, because people have certain, when you talked about a woman being assertive and she's taken to be rude. I've had that example to where, because I'm a very assertive person, and I happen to, at some point in my career, earlier on in my career, I used to be in a room of managers, and I was the only one that wasn't a manager. And I would talk, and one day, if a boss of mine called me and said, your voice, you're too assertive, you have to tone down, So I think that, the men or whoever it is need to be taught that this is how a woman is. Her assertiveness is not to be seen as rudeness. There are things that we need to unlearn and relearn, and it behoves us as professionals, HR professionals, to maybe take the lead in organizing things like this, the unconscious bias workshops or whatever it is that we want to do, so we can, because some people, to be honest, they have that they've been what's the word, indoctrinated from childhood. They don't know any other thing. As far as they're concerned, like we said, a woman is meant to be silent, but maybe they need to be taught. Yes, we may say that it goes deeper than that, but can we start from there and have people unlearn and relearn? That's it.
Awesome. I agree with you. Yes, some level of reorientation needs to happen. We need a paradigm shift. We need to become more aware of these unconscious biases. And do you know that, I kid you not, it's not just at work. I don't want to, just that I don't want to shake this table too much. Do you know that as little as you book an Uber, right? An Uber ride. Do you know that the way the male Uber driver would address you as a female customer, right, is different from the way he would address a male customer? He would address the male customer with more courtesy, with more respect, with more value, right? But you, the female, because you are a female customer, when a woman is assertive, I didn't want to go there. Look, the man would say to himself, okay, that why are you shouting at me? Don't you know I have a wife like you at home in the house? Okay, so that is what goes on in the typical male mind. Okay, I have a wife like you. Thank you, isn't it? You see, very spot on. Even security men, they will greet Oga and ignore Madam, unless Madam drops rubber for them. All right. If you as Madam, you don't drop rubber for security, not just security, cleaner, you see, I'm talking security, cleaner, driver, as a woman, you have to prove yourself that you are a madam to them. And the only way to prove yourself as a madam is by, dropping rubber for them. Okay. But the man, they see the man, he comes to the office, the cleaner, security will immediately run to carry Oga's bag to help him carry it upstairs to the office. But you, madam, you come down, you're on your own. If you don't drop rubber for them, they just look at you, you're on your own. You get? So it's a setback. And then, so women, like I said, women have to keep proving themselves, and keep proving themselves. And it's not just at the boardroom. It's not just in the C-suite. You prove yourself even to the cleaner. You prove yourself even to the security guard. You prove yourself even to the driver. That's when I say it's a boys' club, right? It's a boys' club because men are used to submitting to men in terms of leadership, but they just find it difficult to accept leadership from a woman. It's viewed as weakness. Okay, even as a child, at some point, yeah, you're still listening to your mom. Is your mommy still telling you what to do? Society just expects that a female voice doesn't have authority over you. So yes, I agree completely with Ezine. We need to. Tom said, I was waiting for I have a wife like you at home. Yes, it's the funniest statement you hear from men who feel intimidated. Naturally, the Uber driver has a wife or a girlfriend like you at home that is taking care of. The gatesman too has a wife like you in the village that is feeding. So why is this one, this woman talking to him or this girl talking to him? It's yeah, that's what it is. Titi, time is we have to
Yes,
manage
thank
time.
you so much, Mr. Patrick.
Titi,
Thank
yeah.
you so much. Yeah. Though our threshold for the Q&A session is elapsed, but I'd like this to be the final question. Okay, so you said something which really piqued my interest. You said something about your orientation. Now, I always like a balance to everything, to every topic. I like a balance. So now that we're orientating the women not to underprice themselves, not to allow stereotypes keep them in the background and all of that. Is there any reorientation going on targeted towards the men? Is there any, men typically have that stereotype, which you've been talking about, in the last 54 minutes now. Is there any reorientation targeted towards the men to help us break these stereotypes and let it go?
Of
Do you see
course.
that? Do you see that possible
Yeah,
anytime in the nearest future?
yeah. That's what I said. I said this reorientation is not so much for the women, it's the men that need it. We, in this case, are the problem. We are the ones that have the bias. Okay? So the men are the primary beneficiaries, if I may use that word, of this reorientation. We are the ones that need to be trained to accept assertiveness from women and not look at it as a woman being bossy. Because we don't have a problem with a male superior being bossy. We accept it as leadership. Okay? Okay, Yua says a guy did it to her one day. He greeted a staff and walked past her sitting down, not knowing that she was the boss. By the time they pointed him to her and he greeted, she asked him if they don't respect women in his village. Of course. So, yeah, this stereotype, Abisoye, you're right. The stereotype is something else and it needs to be addressed. So yes, Titi Lokwe, I agree with you. Men need the reorientation so much. And yeah, that's my point. I agree that men are the ones that need it. The main reorientation that I think women need is many times, women are the greatest obstacles to their fellow women. I'm surprised many times when I expect women to rise up and support their fellow women, and they are the ones that sell them out. All right. Yeah, Bisoy was denied a promotion because she was pregnant and proceeding on maternity leave a month after the promotion, despite working the hardest. True that. So I think our time has been well spent. This has been a very insightful conversation. I've learned a lot from the conversations we've had, and I think this has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your time, the high impact delivery. We don't take it for granted. Thank you so much. And of course, as always, we'd love to have you again, coming to shatter tables and deliver great. Thank you so much. So everyone, our culture, this is that we all say thank you. Thank you to our facilitator. We're grateful. So let's all unmute and say thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Night.
Good night.
Night.
Mm.
Thank